Garry, how does it feel to be back in the Ireland camp?
Yeah, I feel really lucky and appreciative to be able to get in, having not played that much rugby over the last couple of months. Yeah, excited to get any opportunity to be in here with the group and to go down to South Africa and the challenge that'll be. Yeah, I feel very lucky.
How do you reflect on, say, the last 6 months or so? A difficult one, I'd say, for you with injuries and everything like that.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of the beast, and you're like rehabbing in Leinster, and you see other guys who've much more difficult, intricate injuries. Kind of puts things in perspective a bit, and thankfully I was still able to train and stuff. But yeah, you want to be playing, or at least being able to put your hand up to be selected. So felt great to be able to get back for the end of the season. Obviously not the plan outcome wise, and then lucky to get the opportunity in here. So yeah, excited for any opportunity I can hopefully get.
How would you sum up the end to the season for Leinster? Obviously, I'm sure disappointment.
Yeah, it's a tough one. There's so much good throughout the year to get to the places we did, and then falling at the last hurdle, and when you're up and second last in the URC, it's always a bitter pill to swallow, but I guess it kind of motivates you to keep going in some respects and appreciate any opportunity you get to try and win. Even thinking in Ireland and Six Nations and Europe that you have more losing seasons than winning, so it's just the challenge to keep going and stay motivated and drive on, and I guess appreciate the wins a little bit more.
Yeah, is that the mental side of the game? Like, even when you're injured and you're watching on and you obviously want to be out there, do you have to work on that side of the game too?
Yeah, well, we've a support network in Leinster and a good support network in here, and even just being around the lads, it always helps. And as we were saying, there's so many more good days, and then it's just the last bit makes it tough when it doesn't finish the way you want it. But I mean, it's great, and there's been unbelievable experiences this year, whatever way it finished. So yeah, be motivated for next year anyway, or for this opportunity and next season with Leinster.
Were you delighted to see the call-ups for Leinster's Sam Prendergast and Jamie Osborne?
Yeah, delighted for them. Both having been in camps, so it's kind of great for them that they're able to sort of hit the ground running. And obviously, I don't think anyone wanted all of us to be available to train last week, but it was good to be able to get 2 training days under our belt and get a step ahead preparation wise. And yeah, but those lads be pretty seamless now, getting into training and driving the standard and sort of competitive edge amongst everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Garry, how would you characterise the rivalry between Ireland and South Africa?
That's a tough question. I guess it's unbelievably special opportunity to play against the back-to-back world champions. And I think growing up seeing New Zealand win World Cups, and you admired and tried to copy in some ways those players and those groups, and then being on the receiving end of 2 South African teams, yeah, it's tough to take when you lose, but you kind of admire what they've done, and to get the opportunity to challenge ourselves against them is as good as it gets, really.
Ireland have had the upper hand though in the last 3 tests against South Africa. Obviously the World Cup last year being a big one as well. Obviously they went on to win that,
yeah.
Fair, but like that must give you a lot of confidence going into.
Yeah, I mean the two games I've been involved in have been so tight, and the results have fallen on the most minute moments. So unbelievably special days to be a part of. But it doesn't change how much respect and how motivated we'd be to prepare to try and do that again. And those results certainly don't count for much. So yeah, it's to try and prepare as well as we did previously, and if not more, considering the other World Cup, they've improved since we played them last, definitely. So yeah, that's the challenge for us, I guess.
Just on your injury, were you always on track to get back with Leinster when you did, or was there any point where it was maybe looking like it was?
It was just slow. I had a really simple fracture that didn't need any surgery or anything. It was just bone healing time. So thankfully I was able to train throughout it pretty much with non-contact. I was just slow to take, and was back to Santry checking in, and as much as I was pushing the dial trying to get back to play, the surgeons and the medical team in Leinster and Ireland were making sure that they were probably thinking about my safety more than I was. So was grateful to be able to get back towards the end, despite not getting the results I wanted. But yeah, to get selected to be in camp and get a chance to play now, feel extra lucky.
Is it particularly frustrating with an injury like that, where it's kind of week on week on week, where I felt for about 6 weeks in a row we were asking Leo, is Garry going to be back this week? Is Garry going to be back? He's nearly there.
I would have been asking the medics the same thing.
With like a longer injury, obviously you've a timeline. That
it's a bit more concrete. So yeah, I was playing. So in some ways it was positive, the fact that I could train and still be around the group, and then in other ways it was probably frustrating, like you were saying there. But when you're in the group and there's other guys with worse injuries, you kind of appreciate. Makes you appreciate that it wasn't too bad. So yeah.
The game against the Bulls obviously last week didn't go your way, but do you think that having that experience of playing in Loftus, getting used to that altitude a couple of weeks ago, that can stand to you now in 2 weeks' time?
Hopefully, yeah. It was my first time in South Africa with Leinster, I think with playing rugby at all. So I'd missed kind of the previous tours and stuff. So it was cool to be there and experience an iconic stadium like Loftus and the passionate fans and all that. So hopefully you can. Well, the fact I've been there before always helps. It's kind of not new.
Were you one of the 12 who told Ivanetsovic you'd see him in the final?
I can't remember. I was so happy we were lucky enough to beat them. I can't remember what I said after, but I think we're all keeping the main thing, and that's the 80 minutes on, was it Saturday, 2 weeks, and just preparing as best we can for that. So
I know all of that stuff is kind of the fun and games that we'd be having in the media and stuff, but do you get enjoyment out of the rivalry side of things and seeing people get a little bit prickly over certain subjects? Do you think that kind of drives the excitement of it?
I know, I have it on my phone. I don't really see much, or if anything, I've stuff muted, and you click not interested on Instagram and stuff, and then rugby doesn't really come up that much. But what was I going to say? Sorry, when you're playing back-to-back World Cup champs, you don't really pay attention to anything other than watching their games, trying to understand what they're trying to do, because if you get sidetracked by any of that, you end up falling victim to getting distracted, putting your energy elsewhere. So it'd be all hands on deck for preparation. That's how I'd look at it anyway.
Almost related to Neil's question, just Diolende has been stoking this. Obviously, talking about how desperate they are to beat Ireland in this series. Does it filter in at all, Garry, or is that something that you try and go, we leave that at the door?
Yeah, I think there's always, no matter who you play, there's always going to be something. But if he did say they were desperate, that desperation is something I'd certainly admire how they play. Their support is so passionate, and you can see how they play. They're unbelievably passionate, and every game for them is the most important game in the world. So, going back to the start, the challenge of that, we'll need to be at our best. It's an unbelievable challenge, but then there's no easier way than just getting down to work and trying to prepare as best we can. He's a 2-time World Cup winner, so he can say what he likes from that perspective. I think he's earned it, but it's up to us to prepare to try and win.